Hey everyone, this is the first episode of Reading Aloud. I'm Quinn Boyce and I will be reading from a collection of poems by E. Cummings. So if you're excited for that, make sure you smash that like button. Let's get to work. Our first poem is going to be Maggie and Millie and Molly and May. Maggie and Millie and Molly and May went down to the beach to play one day, and Maggie discovered a shell that sang so sweetly she couldn't remember her troubles, and Millie befriended a stranded star whose rays 5 languid fingers were, and Molly was chased by a horrible thing which raced sideways while blowing bubbles, and May came home with a smooth round stone as small as a world and as large as a loan. For whatever we lose, like a you or a me, it's always ourselves we find in the sea. So I discovered this poem while researching Cummings' poetry, and I was really taken by this one. It has a playful nursery rhyme tone to it. It bounces along much like a child at play. However, as things roll on in the short piece, we see more things going wrong, such as Molly getting chased by a horrible thing. In the end, the nature of the poem is revealed. This romp down to the water is dangerous and mysterious, and even if we lose ourselves, something draws us all to the water. It's very haunting. Now, I love poetry about water, as we have discussed quite a few times in my lit classes. If you know, you know. Next we have I Sing of Olaf Glad and Big. I sing of Olaf glad and big, whose warmest heart recoiled at war, a conscientious objector. His well-beloved Colonel Trigg, West Pointer most succinctly bred, took erring Olaf soon in hand, but though an host of overjoyed non-coms first knocking on the head, him do through icy waters roll, that helplessness which others stroke with brushes recently employed. Ancient his muddy toilet bowl, while kindred intellects evoke allegiance per blunt instruments, Olaf, being to all intents a corpse, and wanting any rag upon God unto him gave, responds without getting annoyed, I will not kiss your fucking flag. Straightway the silver bird looked grave, departing hurriedly to shave. But through all kinds of officers, a yearning nation's blue-eyed pride, their passive prey did kick and curse, until for wear their clarion voices and boots were much the worse, and egged the first-class privates on, his rectum wickedly to tease, by means of skillfully applied bayonets roasting hot with heat. Olaf, upon what were once his knees, does almost ceaselessly repeat, there is some shit I will not eat. Our president, being of which assertions duly notified, threw the yellow son of a bitch into a dungeon where he died. Christ, of his mercy infinite, I pray to see, and Olaf too. Preponderatingly because, unless statistics lie, he was more brave than me, more blonde than you. Thank you. So, this is actually a poem that we were lucky enough to read in my American Lit class. And this one was one that I initially didn't spend enough time with. It was longer and more intricate, so before I was even done reading, I pulled out the powerful things that Olaf said, like, I will not kiss your fucking flag, and there is some shit I will not eat. This character seems unwilling to bend to the powers that be. He's a soldier that is in a war that he doesn't agree with. And he's not going to bend at that. And so through this, I made Cummings, I tried to play that up. It seems that Cummings wanted more than anything to tell this guy's story. It's the bravest man he's ever known, and he just really wants people to know about the strength that it takes to stand by your morals, even if everybody's fighting for something that you don't believe in, you don't have to fight to. Now we have anyone lived in a pretty how town. Anyone lived in a pretty how town, with up so floating many bells down, spring, summer, autumn, winter, he sang his didn't, he danced his did. Women and men, both little and small, cared for anyone, not at all. They sowed their isn't, they reaped their same, sun, moon, stars, rain. Children guessed, but only a few, and down they forgot as up they grew. Autumn, winter, spring, summer, that no one loved him more by more? When by now in tree by leaf, she laughed his joy, she cried his grief. Bird by snow and stir by still, anyone's any was all to her. Someone's married their everyone's, laughed their cryings and did their dance. Sleep, wake, hope, and then they said their nevers, they slept their dream. Stars, rain, sun, moon, and only the snow can begin to explain how children are apt to forget to remember, with up so floating many bells down. One day anyone died, I guess, and no one stooped to kiss his face. Busy folk buried them side by side, little by little and was by was. All by all and deep by deep, and more by more they dreamed their sleep. No one and anyone, earth by April, wish by spirit and if by yes. Women and men both dong and ding, summer, autumn, winter, spring, reaped their sowing and went there came, sun, moon, stars, rain. Thank you. So, this poem is supposed to tell us the story of everyone, or at least the everyman. Cummings points a finger at the life of lived by anyone in this poem. We see anyone in a very banal town losing grip with their connection to others over time. The children guess that no one loves him until he meets his girl, and then that girl is his everything, and they love each other, but they still drift apart, and then they finally die. No one left to love either one. Now, Cummings is making a point about the nature of growing up. It's often just another way of saying, like, losing empathy. So I'm sitting here as the everyman, and I wonder what I can do to avoid that. Maybe a little bit of growing up doesn't have to be losing everyone. All right, that'll be okay. I saved my favorite poem for last, E. Cummings' Buffalo Bills. This poem's so compact and rich with imagery. It stuck with me more than probably 90% of the other poems that I've read in both of my lit classes, just because it's so poignant. In fact, it stuck with me so much that I actually tweeted in response to it saying, "Yo, I don't know this guy's politics, but E. Cummings wrote like a sorcerer." Buffalo Bills, defunct, who used to ride a water-smooth silver stallion and break 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pigeons just like that. Jesus, he was a handsome man. And what I want to know is, how do you like your blue-eyed boy, Mr. Death? So this piece has ideas of legacy. Our narrator is a huge fan of Buffalo Bill and marvels at his achievements and abilities. But it wasn't enough to keep him safe. In the end, the personified Mr. Death came to take him away. The most interesting thing, however, is that the narrator doesn't seem mad or even sad. It's just another fact of life. So I tried to do that in this reading, tried to make it more calm and more intrigued than anything. It's just another part. He's not angry that Buffalo Bill was taken from the world, but he is interested in it, and he wants to legitimately talk to this personification of death.
Okay.
Good?
Yep.
So I'd just like to thank you for listening to my readings. I found the poetry of Cummings really difficult, but really interesting. Out of all the modernist poets, he really stuck with me because he was the most difficult and the most interesting to me. Those are both really high bars because, again, in both lit classes, I had a really good time with modernist poetry. He tackles huge topics and only gives you little pieces to nibble on throughout. That's really interesting. But this has been Quinn Boyce for Reading Aloud. Have a fantastic day.